So it is 10:50 right now Eastern Time. We're just finishing up a debate and final vote on whether the Senate is going to destroy the filibuster, actually, and Democrats lost on this, as I'm grateful that they did. Here's what happened all day long. It started very early today, and there's been debate literally all day on the floor on this issue about a voting bill. What Democrats want to be able to do in their voting bill is to dramatically change the way that we do voting in America and who actually oversees that. That would come into the federal government to be overseen. And they would set rules like how many days of early voting you have, voter ID would go away. They would set same-day registration, which very few states actually have, but it would mandate all of that. It would make federal elections in the House of Representatives be paid for by taxpayers. So taxpayers would now have to pay for the actual campaign of federal candidates, and they could also, from tax dollars, actually receive a salary as well from that if you're running for the House of Representatives. All kinds of dramatic change, including everything in redistricting across the entire country, would go to Washington, D.C., and the Attorney General's office for the president would actually oversee redistricting, which I try to make my Democratic colleagues understand. They think that's great now that Biden would oversee all redistricting for every single area in America. But if there's a Republican president, are they going to be okay with a Republican president redoing redistricting over the entire country? No. That's a state responsibility, and the courts actually weigh that out. There's also a lot of dialogue about whether the Voting Rights Act from 1965, and Democrats kept saying Republicans are not for the Voting Rights Act. They're trying to knock it out. That is absolutely false. And it was this whole line they were running with all day long to try to paint Republicans to all being racist and all being against voting rights. There are 19 sections in the Voting Rights Act from 1965, 19 of them. The Supreme Court, less than a decade ago, knocked out one of them, and it was the way that Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama actually had to have oversight from the Attorney General of the United States because of how they handled race relations in the 1950s and early 60s. What the Supreme Court said was Alabama and Mississippi are very different now than what they were in the 1950s and 60s, and so there's no need to have this oversight that they would have to have from the Attorney General of the United States anymore. The rest of the Voting Rights Act still stands, including it is illegal in America to do voter suppression. That is illegal in America, as we all agree that it should be. Everyone should have the right to vote, and their vote should be protected. So Democrats tried to run all day long that Republicans secretly want to be able to suppress the vote. It was false this morning. It's still false tonight. We're trying to protect the right to vote and protect to make sure every single vote counts. At the end of the night, they brought up what they called the talking filibuster. The talking filibuster piece, as they did it, and I'll read it to you from here. It listed out, it said, the only debate that is in order during consideration of the message on the question of adoption or the motion to concur in the amendment of the House, further that no amendments, no motions or points of order would be in order, and that any appeal will be determined without debate. In other words, what they were setting up for the majority to be able to have is no amendments, no point of order, no dispute. If you're in the majority, you get to run it. You're in the majority, and you don't have to be able to listen to the minority. That is the exact opposite of how the Senate has been run for 2 centuries, where the minority voice is always protected. That is the unique thing about the Senate. The minority voice is protected, and what I don't want to see is a majority, and this is the smallest of all possible majorities with a 50-50 Senate, with the vice president being the swing vote, for suddenly the majority now to be able to say we're going to change the rule and make sure that the minority has no voice from here on out. Not going to do that today. They lost today. It was a 52-48 vote with Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin both voting with every Republican to just protect the institution, to just say, let's keep the Senate a place where the minority is heard, the majority is heard, and we have to be able to fight it out to be able to make decisions at the end of the day. So we'll keep going as we've got a lot of other things to still deal with on this, but I want to give a quick update here from the back hall of the Senate after a very long day of debate on the floor. If you want to be able to track it, you can go to our website. We'll post the speech on the floor, and we'll post the rest of the details as we go through the rest of the night.